Hello and welcome to another episode of the Full Force Weekly, brought to you by Generals Joe's Reborn.com with me as your host, Christopher McLeod AKA Diagnostic 80. For today's episode, I'm joined by the awesome Patrick Notpicard Stewart. In this regular video series, we round up all the week's news in the world of G.I. Joe. What is it, Pat?
It's the Full Force Weekly.
Yes, it is. We are back. It's back to normal. Pat's in the house, and I'm in the house. How you doing, buddy?
Doing all right. Back to normal for this week. We won't be here next week, I don't think. Right?
Yeah, we're all over the place. It's sometimes you get us both. Sometimes it's just me, and sometimes it doesn't happen at all.
I guess I should say you'll be here next week, but I'll be busy. Is that right?
I'll be here on. No, actually, this is going to be really difficult because I have to travel to NYCC.
Okay.
On Friday.
I've got something else going on, so it wasn't going to happen. It's nice that our not able to do it synced up. Otherwise,
yeah, that was actually that was quite lucky. So maybe we'll do something on Sunday. I don't know. That sounds weird to me. Is Pat's shelf different every episode? Asks RKW.
No, I change things around every once in a while, but yeah,
it has been a while since you were on, so it probably has changed.
That's quite possible. Yeah, there's been a couple of additions here in the corner.
Amazing.
Including one from Hill's Department Store.
Ooh.
Yeah, Hill's Department Store.
Throwback. Look at that. That's cute. Can you show us every single item on your shelf one at a time, please?
Not in the time that we have, no.
Welcome to the 6-hour special where Pat takes one item from his shelf every 4 minutes and we go into depth about each one. Hope everyone's doing well in the chat. There's a lot of you already. Great to see you all enjoying a Saturday morning with us two absolute lunatics. Right then, well, I'd say it's actually been quite a light week for Joe, and somehow we've got about 12 stories to get into. So let's do it, I guess. Starting, obviously, with oh, hang on, I just realised something. I'm going to make sure I get that lined up and ready. Yes, it's Christopher's Comic Corner with C's, not K's, because that would be really bad. Yes, so obviously this is where Pat basically mutes his mic and disappears to make like tea or coffee or something for the next 25 hours while I talk about comics. So yes, recently there have been, obviously with G.I. Joe issue 1 like just around the corner, it has been basically on the hype train for I would say the last 6 months. Actually, it's been since this was revealed as to be the next sort of ongoing SKYBOUND G.I. Joe series. It has been pretty intense, the hype machine for G.I. Joe issue 1, and we including I believe at Hub Comics. Shout out to Tim Finn. They'll be doing a signing. I'm going to get all the details, and I always do this. I always just start talking about it and then realize I don't have any of the details. But this is a big one for a lot of people, as it will be people involved in issue 1 of G.I. Joe. It's like how I'm stalling for time, Pat, while I find the post. He's already muted his mic. I
am actually trying to look it up for you. I'm trying to be a good helper here.
A hamburger
Tom
helper.
Riley's going to be there on November 16th.
There you go. Tom Riley, November 16th. Go check it out at Hub Comics. Now, in, I believe, Somerville, Massachusetts.
Yeah, from noon till 4.
There you go.
Yeah, I think Somerville, Massachusetts. I am not there, so I don't know. Yes,
Mark's in the chat as well, so he'll be able to throw in a bit more information in the comments as well. But I think that's everything. Thank you very much, Pat. Yes, so that is obviously pretty cool. On top of that, I believe a lot of the Energon universe guys are going to be signing at Midtown Comics on during NYCC, or at least I think the Thursday or the Friday. Again, I can't remember. Mark, if you could just put that in the comments, or Pat, if you want to search that information out as well. But that is actually really exciting as well. And of course, loads and loads of covers, like covers galore. There's no way we're going to cover every cover, get it? That's come out like in the last few weeks, because it has been ridiculous. Retailer exclusives, like standard kind of covers A through like S or something crazy like that so far. I mean, there's a lot. And I think this was expected with an issue 1. But they also posted very recently an official first look at G.I. Joe 1, which has a bunch of obviously kind of initial pages. And obviously, if you don't want to know, obviously run away now and never come back. But I will be going through some of those pages, just have a look, like we did with Pythona and Void Rivals very recently, last week, actually, I think it was. So we have a cover there, which we'll get into the details of in a little while, but I wanted it to line up nicely with all the other graphics I was putting in, so I put it first. And also, Pat, something that you mentioned early on, which made me laugh. What did you initially say to me when you saw that cover?
It made me hungry for pizza. Especially from the frame that you had earlier, which is silly because yesterday I specifically didn't eat pizza because I've eaten so much pizza recently. It's crazy. I wake up and I'm like, ooh, pizza.
Ooh, pizza. I like his new pizza mask. It looks like it's being like, when you hold it and you fold it a little bit at the,
right.
The crust.
At a glance, you know what I mean? Because like that's what stuck out to me. So I think that was just me being hungry, inserting the thing that I want into the explosion.
You'll also, can I just also preface this? If you were here last time Pat and I did a Chris's Comics Corner, you'll also notice that Pat's name has changed to Mark Seddon. So that is just because we don't have the Patrick Stewart graphic for that. We should do, and I should have thought ahead, but I always forget that we have to do this. So basically, yeah, Mark is right. Pat is me again. Stolen valor.
But Mark was me whenever he was on the one time, so it's a trade-off.
That was for the news, but yeah, I think he was. Well, I think he actually was.
Yeah.
But so it's 2-1 at the moment to Pat. Pat is
true.
Anyway, we get some interiors of the issue 1 as well. So we're getting another flashback, kind of like from Duke and what would happen in the previous issues and everything. I won't go into too much detail there if you guys are kind of holding out to read this. RKW says, wow, what a cover. It is a pretty impressive cover. It is a bit pizza related. It's adjacent. It's pizza adjacent. It is a phenomenal cover for sure. RK says this show is cheap. It really is. No, it's not that cheap. It's just I forget things. You need a naked HD graphic as well. Yes, we do, Jamie Lynn. Absolutely. We've got one. It's just below me right now. There it is. Anyway, right. And then, of course, we get this beautiful shot of everyone with jetpacks hossing out the back of what looks to be a C-130 or something like that. And I believe Rock and Roll is just jumping out of the plane. I'm guessing he has got a jetpack on. He just hasn't set it off yet. He hasn't actually started his jetpack. Everyone else is flying around, and he's like, I'll just wait till I get a bit closer to the ground. So that's pretty impressive.
He's really trusting that jetpack.
Like I would have turned the jetpack on at the back, like well inside the plane. And
it looks like the others did.
Yeah. Well inside and flew out. Yeah, he's just like, no, I'm going to jump and turn it on.
And since they were forced out, I get the impression that he jumped first.
Oh, definitely.
Like, whatever.
Yeah, because this is the thing, isn't it? He had to have jumped because then they would have had that like more pace and speed to fly towards him.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're right. He jumped out.
There'll be an episode of Mythbusters on this.
I like this narrative you've built here, Pat, where it's like Rock and Roll's just jumped and everyone's like, wait, did he just jump? And then they all turn their rocket boosters on and fly out. It's brilliant. I like it. Very nice splash page here. What does he say here? Oh, okay. Listen up, soldiers. Here is your objective. I thought he was yelling at Rock and Roll to turn his backpack on.
Roadblock, right?
Sorry, Road. Oh, is it Roadblock? I thought it was Rock and Roll. It's Rock and Roll. Yeah, it's Rock and Roll. No, it's Rock and Roll.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a slightly
Roadblock the first time.
It's slightly redesigned. I think I messed up. Anyway, rock and roll. Sorry, not roadblock. If I did say that before. Yeah, but he's saying, "Listen up, soldiers." I thought he was yelling at rock and roll to say, like, "Turn your frigging jetpack on, mate." Anyway, that's the splash page. Very nice indeed. And then we have a couple other shots as well. And this is kind of basically breaking down the team that you're seeing at the moment, like Clutch, CoverGirl, Rock and Roll, Stalker, etc., etc., and the Baroness, of course. The Baroness, of course, is one of those big spoiler alerts that she is on the Joe team at the moment. But that is that's basically your little first look at the interiors, which is pretty nice. I'm very excited to get into this because I've been loving the Energon universe so far. It's brilliant. Mark says Roadblock hasn't appeared in Energon universe yet. He hasn't, has he? And Darren's thought he'd add a little bit of reality to everything. No way I'd turn on a jetpack in a plane. Rock and Roll is the only one that did it right. I like it. I like it, Darren. Nice.
Yeah, I'm way behind again. If everybody hasn't gathered, way behind.
Pat read the first issues of everything, didn't you, mate? I think, and then, or do you
got
them?
I've had a few months of not making it to the comic shop again. It's hard for me to get there. I'll get caught up again though eventually.
I get it totally. Anyway, that is the interiors. Then we just get an absolute cacophony of covers. Now we're looking at the ones that Skybound shared. We're not looking at all of the retailer exclusives, all of the con exclusive. Oh, there's so many, and it is crazy. If you want to check all of them out, follow Talking Joe on Facebook because you'll see everything. Now I've seen everything. I like the Joe side of the Energon universe as Robert H. Yeah, it's pretty fun, isn't it? I've really enjoyed it. Anyway, let's move on to look at these covers. Now, this is a character that has appeared in the Destro series up to now. So she's probably going to be, also by the sounds of the synopses for G.I. Joe, she's going to be showing up in that as well, obviously, as you'd expect. And this is Chameleon. We're assuming, actually. Well, I'm assuming because I haven't seen her. Has she been, Mark? Has she, Mark in the chat? Not Mark, fake Mark below me. Has she been named in the comic specifically yet, like directly? Because I can't remember that happening. I can't. The last Destro issue I read, I can't remember if she was in that or not. It is Chameleon, I know, but has she been named in the comic is my question, Darren. Anyway, that's Chameleon. Now, there's two on here. Obviously, one, they're both by Jenny Friesen or Frison. I don't know how you pronounce that. But you've got cover G, which I believe is, cover Q. My God, it went even further. Or hang on, I said S, didn't I? So yeah, Q is before S. And the cover Q is a foil version of that by the same artist, of course. But looks amazing, I think. And I'm quite into the new sort of like blood that they're bringing into this comic. And it's going to be interesting to see how they develop as characters in this series. Now, I know I'm not going to question you on anything, Pat. I know that you're not reading them yet, but I'm just going to ask from a superficial standpoint, what are your thoughts on Chameleon from a surface level?
I think this design's pretty cool. Yeah. I think Chameleon's always kind of been there as a character that could really be expanded upon. So it's a good idea that they're bringing her in because, I mean, why not? There was that one figure that was released that, was a Baroness figure and everybody looks at it and says, it's the Baroness. But the character's name was Chameleon and they gave a story that was different. And I think part of that was, the fact that we often were complaining that there just weren't enough female figures or characters.
Yeah.
And so like they added a character, but then have never really shown us her not disguised as the Baroness.
Right.
And then the figure's easily kind of forgettable.
I have to agree with that. Yeah, that early one, it was because it was effectively the Baroness, wasn't it, at the end of the day?
Yeah.
And it almost felt like I know it wasn't the same situation, but it did feel like, oh, have they lost the rights to the Baroness name?
Right.
Sort of like the Roadblock heavy blast or double blast, Roadblock double blast situation. Yeah. Anyway, that's made me laugh. Mark says Destro 4 that she has mentioned. I'm gonna have to read that again. I have got that, I think. But yeah. There will be a grey tone foil version of this from Toy du Jour, Samwell Shop. Thank you, Mark, for the extra on that one. Okay, yeah, Bryce says the blonde has been named Chameleon in the Destro series. No info. She's related to the Baroness. But you never know. That might come up. But in any case, really cool. I'm the same as you, Pat. I'm quite into the design of the character, and I think she's going to be really cool in the series. And I can't wait for, I don't know, maybe an O-ring, maybe a classified of this particular character. Yeah, both these.
It kind of does look like you could make that out of a Baroness figure. It is quite similar. She doesn't have the glasses on, but there are goggles. Like it's really not a stretch to get there from a slightly changed Baroness.
Although I would want this particular character to have hair that goes beyond all the way down to the back of her legs, because if you look at the artwork, that hair goes and keeps going. I think that's an exaggeration of the character's hair length, but it's pretty cool. And that would have to be
really hard to do as a figure, wouldn't it?
It'd have to be soft goods, otherwise it'd be the most restrictive, heaviest head sculpt hairpiece ever, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
it'd be ridiculous. Yeah. Anyway, so that's cool. Then, of course, we have another new character in Risk being kind of shown off on a couple of covers here. Now, Risk is on the Joes, going to be a new character. And there's a lot of other information and kind of character info that has been released about this particular guy. I think he's an MMA fighter, I want to say. So they've gone in that kind of direction. But in this case, he's obviously, he's not just an MMA fighter. I'm assuming that's just a background for his ability to, fight, basically. But that's pretty cool. And again, I like what they've done here with John Boy Myers covers are always really amazing. Shout out to John Boy. I always think they're very dynamic. They're very visually interesting. There's a lot going on here. I mean, there's a lot of fire in and around these characters. It's pretty impressive, I think, this one with the bats all on, blowing up and everything. And the two, obviously, Risk and Baroness, kind of in the foreground there. What do you think of that one, mate?
Yeah, it looks really good. I think that it's a good idea to insert some characters also that we're not that familiar with, so that they can kind of be the Daryl Dixon of the story, where, you know what I mean? Where while you have some preconceived ideas about everybody else, there's just not anything with that one. So whatever happens with them, and the audience goes along with it and just doesn't have expectations. So
right, nice. I think that's a good point. And then you can go one or two ways. You can kill them off, which is a little bit of I think it's a cop out in order to get a character killed, is to just introduce a new one early on. But you could in another way, see how that character develops.
Bad for Mangler and Cool Breeze, but
yeah, exactly.
But you're right.
So I'd like to see them get a bit of development and see if they can catch, as characters, because I think that'd be really fun. Anyway, so solid cover from John Boy Myers, and then you have a really cool one from Tom Riley and Andres Juarez, who have done sort of a one of those classic sort of bio pages from Battle Order of Battle, or as we knew them back in the day, intelligence profiles in the Action Force weeklies and stuff like that, and monthlies. I do like that. I think that's kind of a fun way to do a cover, is to make it one of those intelligence profiles. What are your thoughts on that one, mate?
Oh, that looks good. Yeah, I mean, I would actually kind of like to see the profile of new characters. So
yeah, we need more narrative, don't we, with these guys? Definitely. This is funny. Figure Six Pack says John Wick. Does look a little John Wicky. And RKW says, especially on that John Myers cover, Brave Star. If you throw a 10-gallon hat on that guy on the John Boy Myers cover, I'm seeing Brave Star as well. Definitely. Definite Brave Star vibe.
Yeah, I guess I can too. Sure.
Definite Brave Star vibes. Pa says, God, I need a Super 7 Cool Breeze. Can we get Cool Breeze O-Ring, please?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what he's asking for too, and I would love it.
Be so good.
Yeah.
Be so good. Still want figures of, yeah, exactly, Viper Scout. Figures is what I think at the end game to all of these new characters appearing in comics is that we're after new figures at the end of the day. Then we have cover M by David Finch, which is a kind of sketch cover, but a very detailed and quite, amazing sketch cover that features Mercer, Destro, Chameleon, Cobra Commander, the twins, and Scrap Iron, I think that is, kind of hiding a little bit in front of the twins. There might be others on there that I just can't see, but and they're standing on what looks to be a downed Sky Striker, possibly. But very cool cover. Well, do you like that one?
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, they all look pretty cool, don't they? And then the cover R, which is an Andrea Milana and Andres Juarez again. So Andres Juarez is doing a lot of color for people here by the looks of things. This is a more kind of simple kind of idea here, but what I really like about this cover, which I'll say, is actually more about the use of the almost like the kind of, how the kind of classified file font stamps and stuff, like kind of like how you would expect the font and those little kind of like labels on something that is classified, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think I do. I think I know what you mean.
So I kind of, almost like, when you get those redacted
I know what
files.
you're saying.
Yeah.
Things are like redacted. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like that kind of redacted elements and all that kind of stuff. I like what they've done with the title and everything in the top right hand corner and the logo. It's kind of made it very like this is a file that you're opening on a certain person sort of thing. I quite like that. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
I mean, this is cool. I think that it's interesting that they have the confidence in it to have so many covers, but I think that's warranted. This book is, I mean, if they did covers 1 through 4, we'd probably be looking at 20 or 30 more covers anyway.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm curious how far this is going to go.
It's crazy because we're still seeing lots of reprints going into late issues of stuff, which is crazy. Like Scarlet 3 or 4 just got like more reprints and stuff, and it's just like it's just unbelievable how how very popular this is at the moment. I'm well into it, and their runs could be, they should be making 5 comics each time. We'll just never know, right?
Right.
We probably should do more than 5 next time, guys. Otherwise, we keep going into reprint territory. No, it's amazing. And then, of course, we have the cover P foil by Tom Riley. And that is obviously the classic cover that we've already seen a number of times. This is one of the first covers we saw, which is a connector with the other Cobra characters. But this is in foil, this one. So that's going to be really cool to get. And cover E by Lee Bermejo. And that is the one we were talking about. That's the pizza cover. Out of all of them, Pat, what's your favorite out of the ones we've seen today?
I do like that one of Cobra Commander on the right. Like the detail on that glove is just insane.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's so good. I have to agree. I think that's the one I look at and go, whoa. And the others are just really cool. But like that one, yeah, I'm just gonna have a quick. Which obviously I like the Chameleon one as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really like the one of Chameleon too. Like that just is. I hope that appears somewhere, or else I find that as a. I don't think that I'd want the foil one. I think I'd rather have the standard one so that I can see the image a little bit better. Sometimes foil covers obscure the actual art a little bit.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. In any case, amazing covers, and there are so many more. Go to Talking Joe and just look at them on there. And also, of course, just a reminder that the NYCC schedule is for Skybound. Friday, October the 18th, there is a Funko Fusion NYCC panel, which I'm sure everyone will be at. But also Energon Universe signing at Midtown Comics, which I mentioned earlier, which will be Joshua Williamson, Tom Riley, and Jorge Corona. That's 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Midtown Comics on Friday the 18th. And then Saturday, October the 19th, is Transformers and G.I. Joe What's Next for the Energon universe from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Javits Centre, room 4061. Okay. I will be at the Hasbro breakfast for NYCC, but I'm not going to be doing NYCC proper. So for me, I'm going in, staying overnight, going to the breakfast because there isn't a train that gets me in earlier than when the breakfast starts, which is really annoying, and then coming back pretty soon after that is finished. So I'll do as much content, filming, interviews as I can, put them together in a video, and then hopefully you guys will have something fun to watch over the weekend. Right then, that is Chris's Comics Corner. I should have a little kind of jingle for that. In any case, we've got more to get stuck into, and I believe we are starting with Renegade Game Studios. So let's do it. Yes. Oh, it would help if I added that to say. Wow. I didn't remove. I don't know what happened there. I didn't remove it, so I don't know what happened. Anyway, Renegade Games.
I'm me now.
Oh yeah, you're back to you. You have now moved from comics Mark into regular news Pat. Is what's happened here. Yes, Renegade Game Studios had their Renegade Con virtual yesterday, and in one very small segment on, and I did keep an eye on this because I knew I kind of thought they might be doing some reveals for G.I. Joe, because everything else on the agenda was, I think, I forget the name of the thing. It was branded very much towards their new thing that they're dealing with at the moment. In any case, we did get a reveal for G.I. Joe, and that is an expansion set for the G.I. Joe deck building game called the Crimson Veil. Now, these will be available February 2025, and obviously the Crimson Veil bonus box is what you get if you pre-order a certain early time when it goes up for pre-order on their site. So if you pre-order, I think early on before it actually comes out, you do get the Crimson Veil bonus box as well. And I don't think they didn't really talk about the bonus box a great deal. I wonder if it's going to have like a little general that you can build, because this is very general based, and they did talk about having 5 cards for the general in this particular deck building game, which is kind of cool. Nice to see a little bit of Deep Love.
Yeah, well, Deke era, you mean?
Deke era, I guess. Yeah, because it was still, it still lived on its own as a massive playset.
And the toys and everything. Yeah, but this is definitely Deke era, as well as Valor versus Venom.
Yeah, there's a lot mixed in this one. Vintage with the Crimson Guard. Major, Altitude, and the General were probably in a similar era, right?
Major Altitude, he would have been, it was somewhere around there. Major Altitude, I think, a little bit later, but
91, 92, maybe. It would have been a little bit later, definitely. And then you're right, Jinx, but the kind of Valor versus Venom Jinx design, and then you've got Major Storm, obviously, who is the the operator and major of the General. It gets very confusing after a while, doesn't it? And then Mr. Random over there, which Pat and I still haven't worked out who it is. Who do you think that is, guys, on the right-hand side? Because obviously they didn't talk about it on the reveals video, which link in the description if you want to check that out. You got the Crimson Twins in the background as well. But who the heck, Pat, is that? Who do you think? Who's your guess going to?
I don't know, but I hope that he's like me and he just wants to know what the Crimson Guards have in their backpacks. So they roll up in the General and they're like, show us what's in your backpacks. I don't understand Crimson Guard backpacks.
And we'll let you go if you show us. So we've got, someone says flag. It's a possibility that's flag, because if they've got a general if it's a deck building game and it's about the general, then obviously it's going to be one of the jugglers or maybe General Flag. I get it.
He's wearing brown. What
that's the other. I don't know. Train Conductor says Figure 6 Pack, or Postman Pat says RKW, which could be. Pat, you might get confused with that. That's a UK only thing, I think, Postman Pat. Or did you guys have it out here?
No, we didn't have Postman Pat. I think that it's come up before whenever we've been talking, though. So
he's got a black and white cat called Jess.
Okay, no, I
Postman
don't know
Pat,
that.
Postman Pat, Postman Pat, and his black and white cat. That was the theme tune, literally.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, Google it. But yeah, I just love seeing the general. I think I get more joy out of all of the fun things they can throw into the RGS stuff, just because it's great to see some of this, like, almost not like forgotten, but I don't know. I'd argue that Major Altitude is one of those characters that gets kind of like forgotten a little bit, and even Major Storm and the
Yeah,
general.
yeah, no, I think a lot of this stuff gets underappreciated, but there was like the age group that this was their GI Joe that they were
Yep.
buying off of the shelf, and the General is a really cool vehicle, and
It's amazing. It's
it
amazing.
is. It's a nice one, and it's big, and it kind of gets overshadowed by, you know, the USS Flag, the Defiant, the Terrordrome, some of the other more classic GI Joe things, but the
Checkpoint
Generals,
Alpha.
right? You're just rolling up to Checkpoint Alpha.
It's running over it. What I like about the general is the fact that it's all of these different things in one. So you've got a giant kind of like weapon launcher for one, right? You've got lights and sounds, brilliant, which can be removed as well, which is as like a whole block can come out of it. You've got sections that you can use for like diodes, like, you know, kind of like you know, communication stations and stuff inside in the actual interior of it. And then you have, you know, like weapons that flip out all over the place, and it's a vehicle. So it's like a base, a vehicle, and then has all these other different like features and stuff. And I just think it's a bit ridiculous and it looks a bit wonky, but I think it's phenomenal. I think it really does, like, it does encapsulate what GI Joe was going through at that stage of its life, and some of the kind of interesting ideas that were thrown at it. It does have, to me, it has vibes of the Mobile Command Center and how ridiculous that was as well.
That's true. It's a very wide vehicle. It's nice though. I like it a lot. Yeah, I don't know who that other person is though. That's the thing that just keeps on going through my mind. I looked it up on Renegade's website and it doesn't mention it.
Yeah, I don't think we get, well, we'll get an answer when when people get into it, or when Ryan Costello joins the chat, because he'll know exactly who it is. In any case, interesting, and I like it. But Renegade Game Studios, that's the only reveal so far. That's going to be available February 2025. I don't know if that's when the pre-order goes up. It'll probably be before that. Usually when they show these things off, the pre-orders are pretty soon afterwards, but I'm assuming February 2025 could either be when it's available for pre-order or when it's available in like hand sort of thing. But I don't know the details on that. They just said February 25 in the video.
I think it looks like the pre-order's up now, isn't it?
Oh, sweet. So it is available for pre-order right this second.
You can go to their website right now and click pre-order. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, well, there you go then. Thanks, Pat. Available for pre-order now and in hand by February 2025, or shipped 2025. Yeah. Right then, that is Renegade Game Studios, and hopefully we'll get Ryan on again soon to talk about some of the new stuff that's popped up and see what he has to say what he has to say for himself. But in the meantime, we're going to move on and discuss the next news topic, which is Hiya related. So let's get Hiya. Yes, images have been coming out of the Hiya Wonder Festival exclusive Profit Director Destro. And basically this is at the Wonder Festival in Shanghai as well. So yeah, this is kind of cool to see this figure now in full. We did have one like promo image that was doing the rounds as a little bit of a leak, but now this is all of the images of the official figure on show at the show, and obviously available for purchase, I imagine, because it is a Wonder Festival exclusive and it is at Wonder Festival. So, you know, you do the math. First off, Pat, we'll talk about the little packaging image that popped up. What I like about this is the fact that behind him, you can see that the insert is like fake money, which I think is quite cool.
That is cool. And can you believe that I finally have in hand a Hiya figure?
No!
Hiya G.I. Joe.
Let me
finally in hand. Not in hand now, but I have it at my house. I've opened it.
I was going to full screen you because someone moaned about that the other day. They said, well, Pat was showing something off. You could have full screened him. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't like doing graphics changes on screen because it's really clunky. So I'd have to...
it's in the other room, so it's not nearby right now. But yes, I have finally opened one to actually have any sort of feeling or opinion on these while we're on like reveal number 40 or 8 or whatever it is.
What opinions and feelings do you have?
Actually, the only other figures that I'd ever fiddled around with is I had a RoboCop and a friend of mine had a Predator. And Cobra Commander, the plastic actually feels a little bit better than those.
Okay.
A little bit softer, which was much needed.
Yeah.
So yeah, not bad at all. I just, there's been a lot of reveals. I feel so far behind that I don't know how enthused I am about trying to collect them all already because of how many reveals there have been.
So many, 22, I think, counting this one.
Is that how many it is? I kind of wasn't joking where I said 40 is because that's kind of what it feels like to me.
It's 20. I want to say I think it was 21, but it might be 22 with this one. But it might be 21 with this one. I can't remember. There's a lot though. There's a lot, and I think there's definitely more a focus at this moment in time, like this period, like the last couple of months, where they're doing previews and getting figures out to people because Beachhead, Firefly, they're both kind of on their way to people. I think Firefly started landing with people as well, actually. So I think we'll probably see a couple more preview figure kind of images and then more figures getting in hand before we see any more reveals because it was getting a bit ridiculous. Ryan says HasLab General confirmed. Could you imagine? Could you imagine a HasLab General? That would be amazing. Anyway, forget that. He's only joking, of course, from our talk about the General. But yeah, this Destro is looking quite cool. I like all the extras. I mean, it's the classified figure, of course, as Hiya have pretty much done so far. But I like the presentation. I think the box is really fun. I like that they've put it in like a his kind of like gold briefcase. I think that's really cool. And yeah, very nice indeed.
Where did you say the best chance of actually getting this is?
Wonder Festival Shanghai.
So I have to go there.
Okay. Yes. Are you cool with that?
Yeah, I think it's already happened.
I think it's already happened, so you're kind of screwed there as well. Maybe you could go back in time. I don't know. They'll be up. You'll know what will happen. These will find their way out in some way, shape, or form online. But we'll have to see how that goes. In any case, that's that. Then we have obviously images of the figure out and all the accessories. It looks pretty solid to me. Very I don't think there's much else to kind of say there other than that. I don't have any issues with what they've done with this figure. It's very similar, of course, if not exactly the same.
Miniaturized classified is what we're looking at again.
Yeah, I think it's pretty effective. It's a good idea for an exclusive as well because it makes sense to do like a repaint in these kind of situations, and that is an expensive deco application. There's a lot of it, and there's a lot of there's multiple shades of reds and maroons and stuff, and then of course you've got the actual animal print, and of course there's a lot of applications going on here.
For sure, there's a lot going on, a lot of accessories. I'm curious how easily the glasses stay on.
That is, yeah. I mean, that is small, isn't it, as well, to be dealing with removable glasses like that without some sort of very clear locking mechanism like hair or something. I guess they've made his ears pretty, able to kind of like hold.
And the plastic so far has been rigid enough that they probably will stay. I mean, clearly this is an in-hand image, so somebody has them and they're working enough for these photos.
They might have balanced them. It might be a very precarious moment when they're putting those shades on. But no, I think it looks pretty cool. And of course, we have the other aspect I wanted to look at was the interior of the actual briefcase, which is pretty dope. I kind of feel like this is better than the classified version, the briefcase. Really? It feels like it's more. I might be misremembering, and I might have to just look at his briefcase, which I can actually see from here, which is really annoying. But I feel like the briefcase on the classified figure wasn't as like depthy, or didn't have like, I don't know. There seems to be like the keys and the keyboard and everything seem to be quite far up on, like, high up than I thought. They were a bit more depressed in the classified version.
They are.
Okay.
I'm looking at it just right now for comparison, and yeah, the classified one is kind of the same design generally, but I think that the classified one probably gave you more actual space to store stuff, as well as putting those details in there.
Yeah,
that's my guess. And then the
Yeah,
top
that's
of it
true.
also has like money on the classified one rather than
yeah.
the Cobra logo.
That's true. I forgot about that. Yeah, weird. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that comes out and flips over or not. I don't think it does. But either way, it's still pretty cool. I do like it. I like the little readout on there too. It's kind of a lot of interesting elements on there.
You know what I kind of find it interesting is the hinge, because we're normally looking at, for something this big, we're normally looking at what they call a living hinge, the thing that it's the top and bottom are made of plastic, and then it just sort of smooshes together.
Flexes,
and then you just,
yeah.
you just get nervous about that piece of plastic snapping, and sometimes it eventually does.
Yeah.
But this looks like they've actually gone with two pieces that kind of may have some sort of axle, like a pin inside of it.
Yeah, it's definitely a better way to go, isn't it? You can't actually see. It's almost like a hidden hinge on the outside, which is cool as well. Yeah, you're right. It's almost like like a pin runs through the two kind of pieces. Definitely preferred on anything like that. I'm not a fan with you on that kind of like flexible plastic in the middle. I've never been a fan of that.
Yeah.
I've also noticed we haven't had a comment in a long time. I wonder if there's some issue with that.
That's what I was noticing too. I thought that it was just me, because you mentioned.
Apologies if there is an issue there, guys. I don't know what to do about that, because I haven't paused comments or denied them. It could just be an error or a glitch or something. But if you could make a comment, anybody who's able to right now, just to see if it actually happens, and if not, then it looks like we're not working in the chat, which is really sad. Okay, we're going to move on anyway, because we've got this is my favorite bit of news this week, is actually in the form of Super 7. Yes, Walmart CollectorCon kind of did the old bait and switch, where we all were expecting some sort of classified reveal. The only G.I. Joe reveal of the Walmart CollectorCon was Ultimate's Red Laser. Now, this was a nice little kind of surprise, and one that I think we talked about in the past, Pat, about them doing with the Ultimates because of the Cobra Commander figure. And the same thing, we've seen with Red Jackal and Destro and Red Knock Baroness and what have you. So yeah, I was really happy to see this one come through.
Yeah, me too. I think that whenever they've made the other figures, we were kind of hoping that would eventually happen, but I wasn't necessarily, I don't know. I don't think that it definitely was going to. Do you know what I mean? Because
right.
It's not a huge toy line.
Definitely.
And not that many figures offered.
And especially considering that Red Jackal was a con exclusive, I want to say. Was that a con exclusive? I feel like it was. And you kind of feel like, okay, we'll wait for the next convention. But no, it was actually Collector Con for Walmart that they popped this one in. Interesting. I think this is maybe the first Walmart exclusive we've had with the G.I. Joe Ultimates as well. So that was like I think a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, Jeremy Kimberlin points out that Walmart CollectorCon page is updated several times so we could see this show up before Thursday. I have noticed that a lot of the Ultimate stuff has been getting exclusives on the Transformer side. Like there's a Macy's one, which is the first that I've seen that. I popped open a second window in order to see the comments on my phone.
That's a good idea.
And it's a good point that hopefully this thing is available in some way in the UK. I don't know that that's going to happen, but it would be nice.
By the way, Pat, you're on comments duty now for the rest of the episode.
Oh, am I?
Yeah. If you get some good ones, just shout them out. interrupt me while I'm in the middle of speaking as well to do it. Yeah, so red laser, very nice indeed. And I think it works really well in as much the same way as that original repaint of Cobra Commander works, because of that black strip across the top and the fake eyes painted on. It really does separate. I mean, you can see it's Cobra Commander, but it really does separate things with those eyes. I think it really does kind of give this character a new sort of like life almost.
Yeah, well, more so than other repaints that are just sort of palette swaps, a different color applied the same way. This one really changes up the way the character looks. I know that whenever I first saw all the Action Force stuff, this was the one that I gravitated toward.
Yeah, and again, like for those that aren't aware, Red Laser was a repaint of Cobra Commander back in the Palatoy era.
Yeah.
And was obviously when they started introducing into the Action Force line some G.I. Joe repaints with the kind of the better articulation that went along with usually vehicles and play sets and stuff like that. So that's why we were getting them kind of trickled into the line, and then of course before just becoming effectively G.I. Joe on Palatoy card backs, and then completely changing everything and going full on international heroes, which were just like the reuses of the G.I. Joe figures completely, with the occasional changes, but only in like background narrative, not in the actual figure itself. Anyway, enough of that. Here's the figure with all of the accessories. Now, one thing I did point out is that in the Battle Action Force comics, Red Laser is from Japan, and he also in those comics carries a sword, which I think would have been a really good inclusion in here, considering they have multiple swords now within the Ultimates line, thanks to Storm Shadows and Snake Eyes. So I'm interested as to why that didn't probably pop in there, because I would say that's a fairly well-known thing with Red Laser, or maybe they just decided not to do that with him and go a different way with it and make this more of a, maybe this is more Cobra Commander in the Sunbow cartoon, but just in a different costume. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, they've popped in. Aren't those Duke's binoculars and the radio? So they've put in some other different accessories, right?
Yeah, 100%. So
yeah, I think that'd be a good. I think that would have been a sword. Would have been a really good call. I thought a bow as well. Haven't I seen Red Laser with a bow?
He has had a bow. Yeah, in fact, he uses it in a specific issue as well. Yeah, that would have been cool. That would have been really cool. I mean, any stereotype you can think of for Japanese people, they've probably. I mean, back then, that's definitely happened. But yeah, I think that would have been really cool too. Bow and a sword would have been a phenomenal little kind of addition.
Especially the sword. I think that would look good. Just him, I don't know.
It would work.
Not commanding the laser to do what it needs to do, like because obviously he's just in control of it. But it looks threatening as the thing fires, maybe to also be pointing with a sword.
It's a laser sword.
It does make sense though that he'd have the binoculars. That makes a lot of sense to me, even though
like seeing where they're going to aim the laser sort of thing in the distance. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The walkie-talkie with a little logo on it as well, which is nice. I don't know. I'm glad they're doing it. I'm really happy they've done it. I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth in this one. I just think it would have been nice to throw in, like that. That sword would have been really cool. But very nice indeed. And a couple of obviously Cobra Commander weapons as well that he had on the previous release, and that kind of Sunbow rifle, which I can't remember what it was used for in the Sunbow cartoon. I think it was the intro, wasn't it?
Intro
rifle. I get very mixed up with all of the amount of accessories that come in with the Ultimates, because it's like, oh yeah, I remember that was in the cartoon, but that was a specific reason it was in the cartoon. And so because there's so many specific reason accessories, I can't remember what is what when I see like a new one reused. And I'm like, was that
Yeah.
the one that controls minds, or was that the one? Is that the rifle that removes people's clothes? Is that the is that, because I'm trying to think of all the stupid Sunbow things that have ever happened? Is that the rifle that turns people into porridge? I don't think that's happened yet. But there you go. There's one for any future Sunbow related cartoons that may come out in the future or not. Oh, we've got another comment that's popped up. So maybe it's working again. Luis says, with the new O-rings, do you think they'd make these? I think they. Well, this is actually, this is a question I'll pose to Pat, because Brian has said that he wouldn't do things that are already out there, and technically, an O-ring red laser exists. But what do you think about that, Pat?
Yeah, that's a good point. But technically, a Cobra Commander already exists, and technically, a Snake Eyes already exists.
So would you?
I'm going to say that he's not going to do things that are already out there, but it's a new sculpt at the very least. So, yeah, I think that he could do this, and I not only that, I kind of think he should do this.
You don't think he should do this?
I think he should.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry. I thought you said you don't. I was like, what?
Yeah.
No, I agree with you totally. Because if you did a Super 7 O-ring red laser with the new Cobra Commander head sculpt, that would be enough for me for it to be different to the original, because they are like night and day in terms of head sculpts. You're not going to get confused in a secondary market kind of space there, if you know what you're talking about.
No, and I don't think that would really drive down prices of the original. I mean, the original will always be the original, and that's for that reason it holds value, in my opinion. And honestly, like, a second one would just add to the Red Shadows collection. You know?
Absolutely, yeah. I'd love it. I think it'd be great, and I think it would be one that I think people would probably buy. Us people, the two people on this screen, would probably buy.
Okay, Mark says that he thinks that Brian seemed reluctant to rush to repeat characters already done in Reaction, and that's a good point as well. Especially with Red Jackal being so late in Reaction, maybe it'll
Cover Girl.
Well, that's a good point, Cover Girl. It's a very good point. But Cover Girl was also a while ago.
Yeah.
Whereas Red Laser and Red Jackal, they weren't that long ago, right?
Red Jackal was probably the most recent, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
In that lineup with Tiger Force, Wreckage, Sabertooth.
But I also think that's fine. I don't want to see a repaint from Wave 1 in like Wave 3 necessarily.
Right.
You know, so let's wait a little while and then get to some of these. But this to me would be the hottest reuse of Cobra Commander, wouldn't it?
Definitely. I did mention this on the burst I did about this recently, but that thing about Snake Eyes that you mentioned as well. Yeah, we're not going to get another Snake Eyes and then like another version 2 Snake Eyes, but we do, but it's got blue bits on it. And I'm like, that is a reach of we're not going to do another one that exists sort of thing. But I can kind of get on board with it, because I feel like you also do need to have main characters in this line. Otherwise, you know, it's going to be very niche, you know, and you kind of want to still get people in, you know, with that kind of, you know, that only collect Snake Eyes or Cobra Commander or bats or whatever.
Especially if it's going to exist at mass retail. That's important. But Mark also said that he thinks that you specifically asked him about this character, and he said no.
Was it this character, or was it Red Jackal? I think it was Red Jackal I asked about.
Yeah, and Captain Pierogi, it was just a version 1 Cobra Commander, so it just had the side-to-side neck originally anyway. But yeah, I don't know what you asked him about. I'd have to look that up. But again, a no now is not a no forever. So
that's true, and we know that we know stuff changes, details, things happen, and people change their mind on this kind of stuff. So yeah, I wouldn't go too far, too gung ho in one direction. I'm not saying that gung ho is in that chat as well, But like a Sunbow gung ho, maybe. I don't even know how that would, more basic deco. I could still see that happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I could see happen. All of it being new sculpts, though, that kind of causes me to have to change gears of what I even need to hope for or expect from this line. There's a lot of stuff that I still would like that is just a redeco of vintage sculpts, but that doesn't seem to be the way that this is happening. But I do recall him saying nothing was off the table to you at one point.
Yeah, that probably everything else that we were discussing, everything else is still, on, is live. So I think I'd love to see him attempt to do more unreleased stuff. Personally, I like the stuff that it's like, a specific character from a cartoon. I like the stuff that's like, a unreleased character, and also foreign repaints. I like those too, or foreign characters in general. And then I'd like them to add to that specifically unreleased stuff that we see in like catalogs that almost made it, or there was like development towards it and then was cancelled for whatever reason or stopped. I think that would be where I want them to go a little bit with some of this stuff, because I think we could see some really fun characters, some like like a little concept subline of like the kind of presentation art that never went any further and stuff like that would be wicked.
Yeah, but for me to properly scratch that itch, like if I'm going to get like a Tiger Force ripcord, I just want it to look like an original sculpted ripcord, not a brand new interpretation of Tiger Force ripcord. So and then there's other things in here. Jeremy Kimberlin says O-ring cold slither. That is a slam dunk just waiting to happen.
Definitely. And Satin's band. You could have like those two going at each other as like, opposite con exclusives or something. It'd be so good.
Do you think they'll redo Glow Patrol? That's what WJ asks, and I think that I would like that. I'm curious though how glow in the dark would necessarily work with this type of plastic.
So here's a little bit of info, a little bit insider info that's been and gone now. But there was supposed to be another Glow Patrol figure that was supposed to come out a couple of cons back, like exclusives back, and it got switched out. And I didn't say it at the time because I just wanted to enjoy what had been revealed and everything. But as far as I'm aware, there was going to be another Glow Patrol figure. So either there is one that's in the chamber ready to go, or they decided against it and aren't doing it. But I don't know, a lot of these companies will tend to, like, if they do have one of those that might kind of come out, that they'll things will change and then it'll be later that it appears. So I think possibly that we might at least see one more Glow Patrol figure in the future. There was a listing for it as well, by the way. I'm not just like revealing something that wasn't known.
We saw a bunch of listings in the Target system even, and then that clearly got changed up. The actual wave got shortened on reaction, and then some things got moved around.
Yeah, 100%.
So we've seen a lot of that in the later reaction stuff. So I don't think that's off the table. And honestly, the Glow Patrol stuff to me is some of the better stuff that they've put out. So I would like to see it more in O-ring.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, I would think that an ultimate Glow Patrol wouldn't be bad.
That'd be so good. Yeah, that'd be fun. I think Glow Patrol would be fun to do in the O-ring line. And I was talking about a previous listing of a reaction figure, as Pat mentioned there, just to be clear and not get confusing for people. But yeah, there was supposed to be another Glow Patrol figure coming out. So maybe it's because it was reaction that it was stopped, if you know what I mean. And then so like, but I could definitely see them do it in O-ring. It'd be freaking awesome, actually. And a bit more complicated though, probably a bit more, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you're dealing with thinner sections that have a potential of breaking, maybe. So maybe you wouldn't want the waists to be able to glow, but they're so good at overseeing the glow in the dark stuff and making sure that it actually works before putting it out.
Yeah,
that I would be really happy to see Super 7 put out more glow-in-the-dark G.I. Joe stuff.
And I changed the image there just because I knew I had another one in there, but it's exactly the same as the previous one. It's just white background. There you go. And you can see everything a bit more clearer there. Anyway, well, that is Ultimates Red Laser. One final question on this, Pat, before we move on. I just want to throw this out here for you. Are there any foreign repaints or characters you would like to see done in Ultimates?
In Ultimates.
In Ultimates, yeah. Any other foreign ones out there that you're kind of excited for them possibly attempting?
Well, they're kind of building a set here, haven't they, with the Action Force stuff? Have we gotten a Quarrel yet?
No Quarrel, but we've had... Hang on, what have we had?
We've had...
Mortal.
That's right. We had the...
Red Jackal.
Fun School
Red Knock Baroness.
Red Knock, yeah.
And this Ultimates Red Laser, and I don't think we've had the many millions of repaints of Storm Shadow yet either, which is interesting. We just had that version 2 deco applied to the original figure very recently, but we haven't had, you know, your Ninja Coos or your Satans or what have you.
Considering that they did Red Knock, maybe Satan would make sense to go along with Red Laser, like just characters in red from around the world.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I don't know. Quarrel always seems to be a popular redeco anyway.
I think that's a good shout. Quarrel would be wicked, especially in like, you know, that Scarlet figure's brilliant as well.
Jeremy Kimberlin also says Quarrel and Glenda.
In Ultimates? Yeah,
I think so. I mean, that would be a good idea.
No, right? Sorry. I thought you meant they've happened in Ultimates. I'm like, no. I'd have remembered that. Yeah, definitely. Quarrel, Glenda, all of the Scarlet sort of redecos would be perfect for that. What was I thinking of that I thought would be a really good one to do? They'd have to do the other character first, and it'd be very, very unlikely that they got to any of the Force Affera original characters. So I'll just shut my mouth on that one, and just hope that we get more Action Force related.
You want a Kangor, don't you? Of
course I want a Kangor. I want a frigging kangaroo. Can we get a kangaroo in the classified series, please? Considering they do the best.
I think that would be an excellent choice for a figure with pet for the classified series.
It would be perfect.
Yeah.
You could even give the kangaroo little boxing gloves.
Yeah, I kind of want them to make sure that it can be posed like back on its tail, kicking its feet.
Hell yes! Oh mate, you'd know they'd make a phenomenal.
Yeah.
They'd make a phenomenal articulated kangaroo. It would be the best. Anyway, that is not higher. Super 7 is actually what it is. Next up then, and now this is, I will preface this massively by saying this is all a little bit rumor and what have you at the moment, but we have been getting multiple reports, been seeing a lot of chat online of information that the Sarge has been giving out at conventions. So bear with us on this one as we get into some rumor speculation that also has quite a lot of the Sarge behind it. So it's probably going to happen, isn't it? Yeah, so we couldn't kind of get to the end of the show and not talk about this little story that's been doing the rounds online. Now, we've had, not only have we seen a lot of chat about this, but we've had a few people message us and explain that, you know, from certain conventions or what have you, that the Sarge has been at, that he's been showing images. This is classic Sarge, showing images of a possible 2-pack coming around the corner of the Sarge and Mercer. And this has been happening at recent convention. It's, again, like I said, this is doing the rounds. We're late to the party to talk about this, but I was kind of just looking at it going, at what point do we talk about this? And I think now is probably a good time. But yeah, there is hints, and really, I mean, if the Sarge is showing you stuff 100% of the time that this has happened in the past, it has come to fruition, Pat. So I don't think it is probably beyond the realms of possibility that we should be really discussing this as a possibility, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it's been, I think the Funko Pops even he had said earlier on.
I remember that one. I
Yeah,
remember. He
and then
showed the figures on a stream, didn't he? I want to say.
I think maybe he did. Yeah,
Oh my
and
god, so amazing.
it's kind of like we need to start figuring out the timeline of from whenever he talks about it to whenever it's actually in
Yeah,
hand
yeah,
or whenever it's revealed by Hasbro. I mean, I think that it's good that we're getting more Sarge than expected, you
yeah,
know,
definitely.
or than we thought we may. So it's a good thing.
Now there's more details involved in some of the information that's kind of coming out of these promo images as well, which is impressive. But what the most interesting thing was the fact that multiple people have said that the image of the Sarge looks like he's wearing desert camo, and the Mercer figure is very much your classic vintage Mercer kind of style. So there is a little bit more information to this one, and that led me to kind of believe that maybe we're looking at something like this, Pat, in terms of the 2-pack. Now, obviously, it could be, the information isn't necessarily true, but it's coming out of so many sources at the moment that you kind of think, okay, well, maybe there is something to it. And of course, the fact that the Sarge is involved, I love the Sarge, by the way. He's great for this kind of stuff. But is this something? I mean, if this was a 2-pack, it's a little bit of a confusing one to do as a 2-pack. Do you think, or do you think they've got other ideas going on here for like the future of maybe
I do think
Taurus and
that
Red Dog?
this right. This tells me that since we don't really have, I don't think the 3-pack thing was necessarily working for Classified. I think that the 2-pack is probably picking
Yeah,
up steam, and the 2-pack really works.
yeah,
So if you did Sarge and Mercer right away, I mean, it's a good idea to get Sarge in there as soon as you can because you never know whenever that license may not allow them to do another
that's
one.
very true.
And Figure 6-pack points out that maybe it's maybe they've applied more color. Well, he says that maybe it's Warthog Driver Sarge, and if
Could
it's
be.
Desert Sarge, I could see it being a little bit of a blend of those to apply a little more color
Yeah,
to that Warthog figure, like maybe adding some camo on the pants
could be a
or
pre-paint,
it could
or
be, yeah.
and that makes me think this, right? If that is the case, and because
Mhm.
Warthog Sarge is a really good shout, by the way, could we be seeing some sort of Warthog HasLab? Because we'd be looking at later in the year with this.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know that the Warthog would be something everybody would go crazy over, but it's definitely a good vehicle.
It's amazing.
It is a great one, but it's not like a GI Joe icon of a vehicle. It's kind of a looks like something I recognize from seeing, real ones
Yeah,
on TV or in
I
movies.
I
But
agree with you 100% on that. But at the same time, it does have the Sarge attached to it. And I'm not saying that it makes it iconic, but because it's one of those things I think a layman who isn't really into Joe in the same way, or maybe missed that era for whatever reason, or
mhm,
dipped out beforehand, or got back in later on, and aren't really au fait with a lot of specific things in the time they were away from it. I agree with you. I think the Warthog could be one of those vehicles that is like, oh, there's a Warthog, that's cool. Oh, and the Sarge was part of that. That's interesting. I could see that to some degree.
to some degree,
Um,
yeah.
but like especially in terms of the fandom, I think people are aware of the Warthog. It gets talked about quite often, but it's certainly you're right. It's not as I think the reason it's not as iconic as say your Triple T or your His Tank or whatever is because it isn't weird enough, and therefore in his very real world, possibly, but not. I don't know. I
And
don't
it
know.
wasn't in a cartoon.
That's a good point.
That's like the big thing. Like the Sky Striker is very real world, but they used it
Yeah.
so often it became synonymous with GI Joe.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Pat, with that one. Um, Either way, it makes me kind of excited to speculate at those things anyway. But this is interesting to me, and I must admit, it's a bit of a head scratcher if it does turn out to be this sort of, you know, these two figures together. And again, only weird in the fact that they don't mix thematically, in that you've got one in the kind of like desert fatigues and one in the kind of classic vintage kind of look. So I wonder if you're right in that, in your thoughts, that it is a Warthog Sarge and it's just merged a little bit with this desert camo to make it a little bit more interesting in like the pants, for example.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, yeah, it's also possible that, you know, they've kind of done a blend of the pants of the two of these, and then
Yeah.
you could
Pants blender.
see this being the color of the tank top, maybe.
Possibly, yeah.
And then have the Warthog gear be removable, like a vest that's removable.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good shout, actually. Either way, it's fun to talk about, and I love it when the Sarge drops an absolute clanger like this. And I think he does it on purpose, though. He's definitely aware of the situation.
Oh, he knows. The figures actually should come with him, like showing you what the next Sarge figure is going to become.
Come with a little phone with a tiny tampo on it of the next promo image of that. Is amazing. And massive shout out to the Sarge, by the way. Absolute, he's just been like one of those consistent like superstars throughout the entire run of this GI Joe brand, and we very much appreciate his existence within it, and the fact that he continues to produce figures with the GI Joe team. This is freaking brilliant. So nothing but excitement attached to this one.
Yeah, RKW asks, are we sure this is a classified 2-pack? Right now we're classifying this as a rumor, but it just seems to be coming from multiple sources that Sarge has been mentioning this. So it was, I think, worth us covering on this episode. Very worth us covering.
It's also a good point to make as well. Yeah, they could be two separate figures. Again, I wonder where they land in terms of because we know a lot of what's coming in 2025, so we can kind of like determine a little bit by looking at that and go, well, what have we got left that we don't know about? And some of that stuff we don't know about just happens to be 2-packs. So for me, it was one of those things where I was doing the detective work without mentioning it out loud. So it's a good shout that it could be a 2-pack, but also, like you say, they could be two separate figures, and that's totally a good point. But who knows? Maybe at some point in the future, when it's officially revealed or talked about or discussed in some sort of visual capacity, we do get a clear listing for it and can put those guys where they need to be. This kind of reminds me a little bit of the entire 2024 not knowing what that 2-pack was. What was it? Not the Whip Snakes one turned out to be Steel Core and the Crimson, the Twilight Guard 2-pack, which was awesome. Like, we didn't know what it was, and we got surprised at the end, which was great. But like, there was another one which the only one that was left was Low Light and Spirit to go with it. So we just thought, well, it's probably Low Light and Spirit, and lo and behold, it ended up being that way. So it's kind of like, it feels like a familiar thing going on here with these two. So it's a possibility. It's a high possibility it's a 2-pack, but at the same time, it could very much be two separate figures. Either way, pretty excited to hear that both Mercer and the Sarge is getting another figure, but also that Mercer's coming out. That's really fun. And I can't wait to see how he's done. By all accounts, it sounds like he's very vintage accurate. So he'll look very much like what we're seeing on screen now, I'd imagine.
I would imagine that that's the one that they should do first, but I really like that version 2 Mercer as well. So it is great that they're doing Mercer of the 3, because then if they did want to do a 3-pack later, toss in Mercer version 2 instead.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? And then you can still get all 3 characters. I do really like that second Mercer. That's a good design.
Do you know what I think should this is what I think would be really good for the O-ring line, right? If I was at Super 7, I would be designing the second phase of the Renegades, right? And it would be Mercer version 2, already done, basically. Cool.
Nice.
Taurus version 2 and Red Dog version 2. And it would be like what the equivalent upgrade would be to those two characters based on what they did with Mercer.
That'd be fun.
How much fun would that be? Like, and a 3-pack as well of the version 2 Renegades.
I would definitely want to see them incorporate into that then some of the cartoon accessories, like Taurus needs to come with a machete or sword of some kind.
Yes.
Yeah, some of the stuff that they came with would be really cool.
It's like in his thumb when he cuts it. Yeah, those like kind of like sticks with the like weird kind of like pugil stick pads on the end of them that Red Dog has as well in that scene when he bites it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like that would be kind of freaking fun to have in there as well. But yeah, I think that would be really fun to do, like, because obviously Mercer got a version 2. It'd been great to see Taurus and Red Dog get the same treatment.
I've always wondered if those things were accessories that were cut from those characters.
Could have been.
I always liked having the wild card machete with my Taurus.
Nice. I like that. I mean, he's a character that needs it. The thing is, they definitely went with those 3 characters minimal, didn't they? It was just like a pistol, basically, wasn't it? Each.
Yeah, and a backpack.
Yeah. So it's kind of like it was almost like a nod. This is going to sound weird, to the scene in the movie where they don't take any weapons with them to make things more interesting.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, let's not take any weapons with it. Make it really interesting.
Hasbro's cost cutting, so leave your weapons at home.
And also a really good nod to that scene where Red Dog is just shooting trouble bubbles out of the sky with 1 shot of his pistol, which I thought was always the most badass scene in the movie that gets like never gets talked about. But I love that scene where he's like, who cares? As he's shooting all of these like trouble bubbles and things that should not be shot out of the sky with 1 pistol, and he's just going bosh 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 like that. And then I used to love that scene. I always used to think, man, he is so cool. The opposite of a stormtrooper, basically.
Yeah, essentially
hitting the target every time. Yeah. Any other comments coming through, Pat?
Yeah, Pasa Pierogi says that he thinks, and I think this is true of both of them, but he said that Mercer version 2 really looks like he's still got some of the iconic Cobra parts to his design, and I totally agree.
Agreed.
I think it would be really cool, if they reused some of the parts of Mercer version 1 or 2, or the 2 of them, and mixed parts between them to make like a new Viper of some kind.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they kind of did that with the 25th too, because didn't they used like the Alley Viper vest for Mercer, and that it made a lot of sense.
I think just doing you know what's going to happen, right? When Mercer finally comes out, how many toy photography shots are we going to get of his head on the new retro Viper body?
Oh yeah,
that's going to be like constantly coming through. I think with like holding the head under the arm, like as a helmet sort of thing. I could definitely see that happening. Definitely see that happening.
There's a 25th one of those that was canceled, right?
Yeah, there was. I remember you sent me the images for that recently, because we were talking about this a long time ago about cancelled 25th stuff. It's probably like last year now.
Probably.
In our group, and I remember you sending me some phenomenal unreleased images of some really cool things that I didn't even know existed. They came out of like panels at JoeCons like years ago, kind of thing. And seeing some of that stuff was so cool.
There's a lot of golden items that were just canceled from that era.
I know. It's so. I mean, and yeah, it's a shame that a lot of that isn't as well known or kind of out there, because a lot of the time it's it's a little bit protected, or it's like someone's private stash, I guess, so you can't really. But either way, it'd be nice to see that at some point, like a lot of the stuff that came out of those panels kind of made a little bit more public. But that's really cool. Anyway, I think that is everything. The only other thing obviously is to just drop this little reminder. So NYCC is on the 17th, 18th and 19th. This is a pre-order for the 22nd, which has appeared on Entertainment Earth's Drop Zone. So it's very likely that this relates to what's being shown off at NYCC. So you'll get the reveals and all of this chat and everything at NYCC, and then we'll get the pre-order drop, most likely on the 22nd of October, 10 a.m. Pacific or 1 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. So there you go. Plenty of heads up, just in case. Justin Bell. Now, I was just Scrappy. Scrappy was the Low Light Spirit 2-pack that I was trying to think of earlier. That was the one we didn't know about until the fact that we didn't have anywhere else for those two figures to go. So we knew Low Light and Spirit were coming. We just didn't know what their internal code word was, and it just happened to be that. So that's what this feels like. Now, if we look at this group of crazy, I know this is your favorite thing to do ever, Pat.
There's a question already. Is Nemesis Enforcer confirmed for 1027?
No, there's been no confirmation about Nemesis Immortal other than I was told very soon, coming very soon. So it'll be before the end of the year. 1027 makes a lot of sense, Pat, because obviously we've got NYCC kind of coming. NYCC is a possibility, I guess, but then MCM and 1027 is another massive option. So either one of those, if we don't see Nemesis Immortal after MCM and 1027, I don't know, that little bit between the end of the year, that and the end of the year, maybe, I don't know. They did reveal, I'm going to say they dropped the Vamp randomly in a spot in between like an event and the end of the year. Was it the Vamp thing?
I think you're right. I think that they did. Yeah, maybe that's why one of my friends totally missed the Vamp.
Yeah. It was a bit of a random, here's a video and it's gone up for pre-order sort of thing. So yeah. I think possibly something like that, but it's coming soon is what we've been told. And 2025, like I said, you'll notice there's a lot of stuff on here, and there's also a lot of 2-packs on here. So that was why my brain went to that particular spot for the Sarge. But we'll find out eventually, I guess, or we won't, and it will be revealed and released, and then we'll know. But either way, something will happen. Anyway, that is just, if you wanted a quick look at what we know so far, that's what we know so far. Anything else to add? I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it. We can move on to the usual now, Pat, which is the shout-outs at this stage. So are you ready for that?
We have name-own reveals, don't we?
We can keep going. That's totally cool with you.
No, go ahead.
No, we're there now.
Making sure that you weren't forgetting to do.
No, I was just leaving it out for you, so you didn't have to go through the continued.
No, it's okay.
Torture.
Name-only reveals are actual names with names and reveals, so that's fine
to a degree. One of them is a hunt for the mass device, which again I thought would probably spark a slight burst of Pat anger or panga.
No, it's fine. I mean, that's the hunt for the mass device. It's not the hunt for Scooby-Doo or whatever might just get put in there.
Hunt for the mystery machine. What, in that case, while we're on this, because this is what we know so far as name-only reveals, what would you like to see coming out of the mass device? And I don't mean literally, I mean the figures that might come out of the mass device.
Oh, well, I mean, you're almost then looking at it being stuff that was in those cartoons. I would say probably Cobra Diver would be one.
Ooh, good shout.
That would make a lot of sense to me.
And they kind of have the parts to make one very generic as well. So,
yeah, there's a lot of Cobra Diver that could already be done, and I just think that it would be appropriate to do it. So I think that would be good. And hey, why not just throw it in with an Eels backpack? Like the version 1 Eels, like
cheeky.
What it should have hopefully come with.
That's
that way
a good
you can
idea.
Take it off and put it on your Eels, and then the Cobra Diver looks right, and the world's good. Everything's fixed.
I like that. That's a nice shout. So Diver. What about Joe Divers? Joe's and Cobra Divers in that sense, or just
the Joe Divers would also be good to do. We've gotten a couple of Joe Divers recently, though, so I don't know that I would want them right away.
Good point. Good point. There's one on the screen, I think, that kind of fits the theme right away in the kind of version 1 rock and roll and Blowtorch. Technically, is Blowtorch?
Yeah,
I think he is, isn't he? Yeah, he melts something. In that,
he's in Revenge of Cobra, isn't he?
Oh, he is. Yeah, my bad.
He's not in Mass Device. Yeah,
but Retro Rock and Roll is definitely in Hunt.
He is. Yeah,
definitely in the Mass Device. Yeah, so that kind of fits theme technically. But there's tons. All of a sudden, do you know what's really funny? All of the comments have come in. Really? 76 comments just bashed into my screen, and now I can see everything again. I don't know what happened there, guys. I really don't.
What's sad is that I think that my my stuff was also a little bit delayed. Like there were moments that were delayed on my phone too. So I apologize if I missed anything throughout the episode.
Cool. Sometimes I don't get to any comments, and people don't. You don't mind, do you guys? You just say them again. Joe Divers and a Shark says figure 6-pack.
It would be a good time to finish the original 13, says figure 6-pack.
Yes, I think
I agree. Like more of them just inserted, or even some of the cartoon colors for them, like Breaker in gray, right?
Yeah, definitely. Breaker's a good shout. Flash. Viper's Cat says I was thinking of Flash with the laser. Probably was. But there's a scene, I'm pretty sure there's a scene where Blowtorch does something for Doc, like he burns something for Doc in the HQ, and I think it was what Pat was saying, it was in Revenge of Cobra. I'm just mixing up my mini-series. Mobat says figure 6-pack. That's hardcore. Arctic Footloose would be sick.
Oh, that's a good call. RS Seattle, yeah, the Retro Baroness, because we're definitely getting I honestly think that that's almost a shoe-in then. That's probably part of what this is.
That's a good shout.
The Pilot Baroness is definitely that mass device design Baroness.
100%. 100% agree with all of that. Glow in the dark Snake Eyes is a good shout. Not a Snake Eyes, says Blitz. Lol. Build a mass device. I don't know. Like I think I would personally want a decent size. Like this is my idea for a mass device, Pat. I'm not sure if I've spoken to you about this, but how do you think this sounds? Classified. If they were to do like a HasLab for a classified mass device and make it huge, right? How cool would it be if it opened up to be a playset for like an interior of like a Cobra Communications kind of setup or a G.I. Joe HQ or something? How cool would that be if they, rather than just being a big block of nothing that just has maybe lights and sounds, it could literally open out and display a, you know, like a Dio scene like that.
So that it wouldn't necessarily do like open up in the story world. You're just getting two different things out of the same thing. Yeah, I think that it would be a good idea to figure out a way to have it be able to be reconfigured into something else. That for sure, because it's just a lot of space. I feel the same way about the BET or the Weather Dominator. Like you can't. They're just so big.
Yeah, and that's the good point as well. It's like they work in the narrative of what's been going on, but they don't necessarily make for a very interesting toy a lot of the time.
Right.
But if you could, like the BET, for example, you know, you could have elements that kind of transform parts away and it becomes a vehicle. So like you kind of, rather than just being a, you know, a thing with a big radar dish on it, those things could kind of transform, almost fold up and become, oh, it's the BET Cruiser or something. Do you know what I mean? Like something really cool like that. Yeah, like I think that has to be done, not necessarily for classified scale. That would be massive. But like an O-ring BET would be wicked. And if they made it a vehicle as well, that'd be so cool. So cool. Because I feel like we need a BET and O-ring scale.
Yeah, it's not my first choice of things to have because it just would be so large. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it might sell, but it's not really part of the action. It's just kind of the MacGuffin.
Yeah,
so,
true.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that if it could be reconfigured into something else, it's a shame that the BET just doesn't look really anything like the mass device, unless they can figure out a way to make that core box, you know,
just different skins,
the box and threads, the same between the two, and then
would a transforming triple changer that was Metroplex, the HQ, and the BET? Would that be too much, do you think?
I think that might be too much, yes.
Is that also the coolest thing you've ever heard in your life?
Yeah, that'd be fun. Maybe
it'd be amazing. It would be amazing. Or they could, I mean, that would be ridiculous, but what a cool thing that, I would be so up for that. Mine would be an Aspid, and that's huge. Yeah, an Aspid would be great.
I would way rather have the Aspid than the BET.
I think with the Aspid as well, you could play a lot of cool play features could come in the crate that it picks up as well, and that could fold out into something.
Oh yeah,
you know, that could fold out into like
be able to pick up a HISS tank. But other than that, the big a crate that would fit his tank size. Or yeah, I would also want like the one Cobra Commander had, where he had like it almost looked like he had a mini throne in there, I think.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've read those, but that's a vision in my head. Whether or not I fabricated it while reading comics or it was there, I don't know.
And no, we're not talking about Black Entertainment Television, guys. We're talking about the BET from the movie, the Broadcast Energy Transmitter.
Of course.
Yeah, but yeah, I think an Aspid would be phenomenal. And then finally, just to tie everything off into a weird bow, these are the digital renders we have currently for Law and Order Heavy Duty and the Claw with Pilot. Hopefully we'll see more over NYCC.
It's also the Battle Desk with Pilot.
Oh my God, yeah. Right, hell yeah. I thought it was really funny when I was talking to Lenny and Tony about this, that Lenny said without hesitation and without prompt, he called it his battle desk originally. And I was like, yes, he's not the like, we're not the only people that think that thing he had was a desk. And I just think it's hilarious that was done. And I think that classified upgrade is freaking insane, man. Like, I think it's a great idea to make it like a mech.
A harness makes a lot of sense for it, for sure.
It's great. Anyway, that's everything. Right, let's talk shout outs. Let's do it. Have you tried Hoarder yet? No? Well, you need to. If you have a collection of things and want to create a fun and easy way of organising it and of course showing it off, then get involved. You can post items and build collections, and you can drop a status like getting a fun delivery or seeing some awesome related stuff on your travels. Build your collections with Hoarder. The app is free to download on Google Play and the App Store, so what are you waiting for? Get to hoarding. Blitz says Claw and Order, which is a classic pun that I missed out on. So thank you very much for that. It's worth a shout out as well. Speaking of shout outs, Pat, who have you got?
Shout out as always to Philip. He just did an Articulated Points Live where he assembled one of the blockies.
Oh, nice.
A Transformer Optimus Prime, but it's one of the larger scale ones. And it actually has a lot of features and a lot of joints. Whenever it was coming together, I was kind of surprised. Surprised because the super deformed stuff, as you know, has worn thin on me personally. But watching him put that together, I was like, man, I probably would pick that up if I saw it and the price was right, and it was, I could just buy it rather than ordering it online. I would probably get that. But yeah, that's out there for Articulated Points, and we are still amid our multi-part Eco Warriors series as well.
Awesome. Do I have that on here still, or did I remove it? I think I removed it.
I think you removed it, but that's a-okay, because our most recent thing was blockies.
There you go. And yeah, you can check that out. Link in the description, of course, to the channel. And yeah, I noticed that about the blockies. They're actually so much cooler than I thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
And way more involved. It's not. I think I watched a Sixo video where he was kind of putting them together. And shout out to Sixo, by the way. If you don't watch Sixo's videos, he's brilliant. Big Transformers guy as well. And obviously on the blockies that he was putting together, like showing all of the different intricate, you have to pop them out of the little sprues and and I was like, man, this is way more involved than I expected it to be.
Yeah. The original advertisement of blockies on Facebook made me laugh because they said fully transformable. It's like, did they just like copy paste some text from some other transformer for the advertisement?
I'm telling you now, yes, that's exactly what happened. A lot of the time as well, bit of background sausage made scenario, the socials are not like necessarily completely controlled by the companies in the first place. They have got like social media companies that are dealing with it.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of the time, if you don't like really pour over the copy and stuff like that, then stuff is going to happen like that. And it happens more often than not now. I see it all the time with toy companies. Like, you'll see, like, you'll read it and you'll go, hang on, that doesn't make sense, or that isn't right. I mean, look at the copy issues they've had on their websites for like Super 7. They had to remove stuff like where it was, remember, it was like that Zartan on Hasbro's site. It was the Zartan color change thing. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Because
that was a big deal.
the first Zartan that they revealed in the copy said that he had color change
Didn't that happen
capability.
then twice? It was Super 7 also
Super
had it.
7 also did the same thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Crazy pants. Anyway, why does everyone call them? I don't know how you're pronouncing it.
Maybe Blokies?
Blokies.
Is that what it is?
But I think they are called blockies though. Anyway,
I think Blockies. Yeah, I think that's the official. I think.
but yeah, it does sound
Thank
like blokies.
Thank
It
you,
doesn't look
Pastor
like
Pierogi, for enjoying the Eco Warriors.
It's amazing. I still get a lot of enjoyment watching that clip of the animated missile, the sludge
I
slime
appreciate that.
launcher.
Yeah.
That was really good. Anyway, yeah, enough talking about articulated points. Screw those guys. Go check them out. Link in the description, as always. And of course, shout out to Brian Sauer, who is enjoying a holiday at the moment. But is still managing to get me graphics. So thank you for that, Brian. I appreciate your hard work. Go chill out though, seriously. And of course, Assembly Required, which is coming up in just, I don't even want to say out loud. Is it 4 weeks?
It's roughly a month. Yeah, it's closing in. Oh, it's less than a month away.
Jeez.
That doesn't even feel real.
Okay, well that's happening soon. I feel way underprepared for that.
As am I. Yeah, it's the stomach acid's churning right now. I need to get packing or something to make myself feel prepared.
Anyway, yeah, shout out to us.
I look forward to it though. It's I'm definitely going. I just have to make sure that I've got all my things in order before I go.
Absolutely. And just to sing us out, Pat is going to recite the this. No, you're not going to do that. Okay, fine. I love the every time I say that, Pat's like, get lost. I'm not really going to do that. Also, massive shout out to Brian Hickey, Total Toy Books, Rebellion, Skeletron, everyone involved, Hasbro, for the deluxe treasury editions. Pre-orders still available on Previews World if you want to go through your local comic store, and of course still through Total Toy Books, link in the description, and there's still that 25% discount on there as well, so you can do that. Make sure you pre-order now. Let's get it going. And I just wanted to do again another shout out. They've done another episode for 1983 already, but I want to shout out Toy Geeks aka Geek Dad Life, and of course Secret Galaxy's own Dan Larson for getting me on the G.I. Joe 1982 episode very recently. That was a lot of fun to do. Go check it out. Link, I think, in the description. If not, you can find it on our socials. And of course, you can check out the new episode of 1983, which I think Carson, they got Carson on there as well.
Fun. Okay.
So that'd be awesome. And probably way more informative than my episode. I can tell you that much right now. In any case, massive shout out to them, and shout out to all of you guys in the comments, in the chat, the viewers, our listeners, however you consume us, however that is. Thank you, and thank you for all of that, and our patrons as well. Patreon episode coming tomorrow as well for you guys, as always, every week. That is everything then, Pat. Thank you, bud, for jumping on.
Thanks again for having me on.
Always. It will be, I don't think we'll have a weekly next week, but I'll see what I can do. And if I have to do something on Sunday, then so be it. But you'll be getting stuff direct from NYCC or the Hasbro breakfast anyway, so stop your complaining. Anyway, stay fresh, cheese bags, and after 3 you all know what to do. 1, 2, 3.
Full force.
Laters.
Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on X, formerly Twitter, @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page, facebook.com/TheFullForce. We've also added a brand new Instagram, so check us out there as well, @TheFullForce Podcast, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce Podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.